inside the house. Her husband inside the house. Where is he? Is it in the room? Upstairs, downstairs?
A tragic end to the frantic search for a Markham man trapped inside this burning house. Good evening. A man is dead. Another resident of this home was taken to hospital after a fire earlier this afternoon.
Firefighters say one person managed to escape the blaze after hearing a smoke alarm go off. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene near Woodbine and Major Mac in Markham. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, neighbors are expressing sadness tonight after learning a man in his 70s, who they say has lived here for many, many years, died in a fire early this afternoon.
I heard there's like a fire truck coming. I opened the door, and basically there's like big fireball like right at the garage.
Residents who live across the street say they could feel the heat inside their homes. Fire crews say a woman who neighbors have identified as the victim's husband was outside and told them a man was still in the burning home. Now, fire crews pushed their way into the home to locate the man in a hallway. They say they encountered a large volume of fire in the garage that had spread into the rest of the property.
An elderly male patient was quickly located by fire crews, removed to the exterior of the home and put in care of York Regional Paramedic Services. Unfortunately, he was pronounced dead at the scene and was not transported.
Now, the female resident was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. The cause, origin, and circumstances of the fire are still under investigation. Now, we are told that officials from the fire marshal's office are en route from Sudbury, but the investigation won't commence until tomorrow. At this point, fire officials say they do not know exactly what sparked the blaze, although they do say it started in a garage. Of note, the vehicle inside the garage is incinerated, but we are told it is not an electric vehicle. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. And still in York Region, there is a developing story from Vaughan tonight where a 15-year-old boy has been charged with second-degree murder. Police were called to a home on Camino Drive in the Rutherford Road and Jane Street area around 9:20 this morning, where they found a woman with critical injuries. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say a 15-year-old suspect was arrested at the home and is now facing a charge of second-degree murder. Investigators say they are not looking for any other suspects.
And a woman's in hospital with serious injuries tonight after being hit by a dump truck this afternoon. It happened just before 2 near Mortimer and Pape. Paramedics say a woman was rushed to a trauma center after being hit by the truck. Her condition is described as life-threatening. Police say the driver remained on the scene, and roads in the area were closed for some time for the investigation.
Also tonight, a smash and grab robbery in Scarborough captured on camera. The owner of a cell phone store and his son left shaken, and it's not the first time they've been the victims of this type of crime. But first, not a great day on the roads today. The morning commute was slow and sloppy for many.
A freezing drizzle advisory was lifted earlier this afternoon. CTV's John Musselman is live with more on what people were facing outside today. John.
Nathan, I'm at 400 and King Road. The snow and the drizzle has stopped, but it's quite windy out here. But as you can see behind me, the traffic is moving pretty well. Area highways were partially snow-covered and sloppy today, making for slick driving conditions. One lane was blocked on the 401 and Morningside. It was just one of dozens of accidents reported to police. Sergeant Kerry Schmidt is with the OPP.
Drivers going too fast for the conditions, not giving themselves the space, and when traffic suddenly stops, you hit the brakes, you think the roads are only wet, and all of a sudden you're sliding on this ice and slush. So we just want to remind everyone, take it easy, slow down, give yourself that space, turn on your lights and take your time.
A freezing drizzle advisory was issued by Environment Canada, warning of ice buildup on roadways. It also made it tough for pedestrians heading into work. Many telling us they've had enough of winter. This woman says the messy weather caught her by surprise.
Yeah, it did a little bit, I would say. I mean, I'm in a skirt, so wasn't really prepared for that.
Tired of winter, yeah, definitely, and can't wait for the spring to come.
Yeah, I'm so sick of winter. I just need the summer to come ASAP.
North of the city, motorists reported similar conditions.
We're traveling north, so we are kind of worried about the conditions today, but we were here on a hockey tournament, and we're going home.
Everybody seems to be moving okay, keeping at the pace, you know. Nothing crazy out there yet.
Condition? It's usual, Canadian weather.
Yeah.
It's snowy, cold, normal.
This tow truck driver says he was busy this morning, but things have improved up on the 400.
Right now it's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah, the MTO did a good job. They put assault everything on the highway, so it's good.
The radar doesn't look like there's a lot of weather, but when you're driving down the roads, visibility is reduced. The roads are sloppy, slushy. Plows have been out there, but there's a lot of traffic volume. We have been dealing with dozens of crashes right now.
Conditions are expected to get better tonight, and commuters can expect better road conditions on Friday morning. And yes, the roads here seem to have dried out quite a bit because of the wind, so it is making it better for the drivers, especially the ones heading north. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Time now for a check on the forecast. The freezing drizzle is gone. The road's much better now than this morning, and the temperatures are around normal, but we are in for cooler temps later tonight, wind and a chance of flurries, so bundle up. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jess.
You can see it there in the shot with John. It is really, really windy out there. A southwesterly wind becomes northwesterly, and that means really, really cold air. And we're looking at lake effect snow returning this evening, but really from about midnight into the early morning hours tomorrow. A break, though, for now, making it a little easier for the commute home for a lot of people, but we're not done with the chance of active weather when it comes to this week. Still seeing some other travel advisories and snow squall watches along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, down through Niagara and out areas in towards Peterborough. Now, as we head in towards the rest of our evening, the winds stay strong. They just change direction quite a bit, so keep that in mind. It is a windy night ahead of us. We're sitting at 0. It feels like -6, and temperatures are all over the place over the next few days. Those details in a moment. Right now, over to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Healthcare, affordability, and protecting jobs were center stage on the provincial election campaign trail today.
Leaders of the four main parties making their pitch to voters. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live tonight with the latest to help you make your decision. Siobhan.
Now, Election Day is 3 weeks away. Today, we saw 2 of the 4 major party leaders today really focus in on their core messages.
In Scarborough, Bonnie Crombie returned to the central theme of the Liberal campaign, connecting all Ontarians to a family doctor within 4 years.
It's helping more students just entering medical schools choose to stay with family medicine, keeping the family doctors that we do have by ensuring that they have the right compensation.
Crombie also promises to cut the administrative load for doctors so they can see more patients and improve the family health team network. Progressive Conservatives have put up close to $2 billion to connect all Ontarians with primary care by 2029. New Democrats are putting the focus on renters, promising to extend rent control to cover homes built after 2018. We caught up with leader Marit Stiles between campaign stops at Hamilton's airport.
We're also going to stop rent gouging, limit short-term rentals, build more truly deeply affordable rental in the province of Ontario again, and crack down on rent evictions and dem evictions.
Using my surveying experience.
The challenges of a winter campaign on full display for Green leader Mike Schreiner at home in Guelph. He's pledging to push to double payments for social assistance and disability. Schreiner calls the current system legislated poverty.
Forcing people with disabilities to make the impossible choice between eating and having a roof over their head.
Schreiner's vow matches one made by the NDP. Liberals say they double ODSP rates over 2 years. On a factory floor, Doug Ford stayed concentrated on his core message.
Protect jobs, protect communities.
But the Progressive Conservative leader is facing questions about 2 former government staffers, subject of a lawsuit alleging they'd promised to use their back-channel contacts and political connections to rezone land for development.
I didn't know anything about this, and I don't get involved in outside stuff like that.
Not good enough, says the Liberal leader.
The buck stops with Doug Ford. He's responsible for the behavior of his team and his staff.
The former PC government's plan to free up parts of the Greenbelt for housing remains under RCMP investigation. Ford says he hasn't been asked for an interview with the Mounties.
I haven't. I don't go around asking people in our office. That's up to them. And what I have said is let's cooperate 1,000% because we did nothing wrong.
Another PC promise today is to build a freight train bypass around the GTA to be able to add more GO train lines through the center of the city. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And with Election Day fast approaching, officials are reminding Ontarians to make sure their voter registrations are up to date. And a reminder, you're eligible to cast a ballot if you're 18 years of age or older on Election Day, a Canadian citizen, and a resident of Ontario. Voter information cards will be in the mail from February 17th to the 22nd.
It is also possible to vote by mail if you'd prefer to cast your ballot that way. You can apply on the Elections Ontario website anytime before 6 p.m. on February 21st. You'll then have to ensure the voting package is returned by 6 p.m. on Election Day, February 27th.
If you prefer to vote in person, you can do so at your local election office, as long as you bring ID with you, your name and home address. More advanced voting locations will open February 20th to the 22nd, and on Election Day, February 27th.
Still ahead, a development in the death of a retirement home resident who was locked out in the cold and died of exposure. Police lay new charges against an employee and the facility.
Toronto police have identified the man shot and killed last night near Moss Park. The shooting happened at around 8 p.m. near Sherbourne and Queen Street. The victim was shot in the chest and thigh and died later in hospital. Police say they don't know what sparked the incident, and the victim has been identified as 43-year-old Lyle Poonall of Toronto. This is Toronto's third homicide of the year.
Now to another frightening smash and grab robbery, this time in a cell phone store in Scarborough. The robbery happened near Kingston and McCowan just before 5 p.m. This video shows the suspects confront the store owner, who is a cancer patient and only recently returned to work, as well as his 19-year-old son. Fortunately, they were not injured, but the incident has left both shaken. They tell CTV News they also have a separate store that was robbed on January 19th.
One of the masked individuals was holding open the door. 3 others came in, 2 with hammers, and before we knew anything, they're just smashing all over the place, you know. Me and my dad were begging them to stop. They could have what they want, just don't cause any property damage.
I'm concerned, like, I don't know how we survive. I don't have word to say. This is, that time I'm shocked. I'm patient, I explain you. So that time I'm shocked. So I don't know how we run our business now.
The suspect smashed several display cases and made off with a substantial amount of merchandise. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
And police in Durham region have laid more charges in connection with the death of a senior at an assisted living facility. In December, police laid 2 charges after an investigation that began in April of 2023. It was then that a 79-year-old resident of Aspira Traditions of Durham retirement home was found dead outside of the home. Police say the woman had left the building around 7:30 on the night of March 31st and was unable to get back inside the facility despite making several attempts throughout the night. Her cause of death was determined to be exposure to the elements. Now, police have laid a charge of criminal negligence causing death against a 32-year-old employee of the home, as well as laying the same charge against the home itself.
The York Regional Police Hold-Up Unit is appealing for witnesses after a bank robbery in Vaughan. Investigators shared images of the suspect wanted in connection with the incident Wednesday morning at a bank near Highway 7 and Marycroft Avenue. It's alleged he flashed a handgun at a teller and made a demand for money, which he received before fleeing on foot. Police are asking anyone who might have any information or dash camera footage from 10 to 11 a.m. yesterday to get in touch. And York Regional Police are also searching for this man, 34-year-old Kareem White. He's accused of assaulting someone at a motel in Georgina on Monday. Police also suspect he's carrying a gun, which would violate multiple weapons prohibition orders. White is wanted on multiple charges, including assault. Anyone who sees him is asked to keep their distance and call 911 immediately.
Provincial police say they've seized large quantities of fentanyl and cocaine after a drug trafficking investigation in Peterborough. Police shared these images showing the drugs, paraphernalia, and cash, including approximately 1.5 kilograms in suspected fentanyl and cocaine. OPP say they began the investigation throughout the Peterborough and surrounding area last summer. Then a few days ago, they executed 5 search warrants across Peterborough, Durham, and York region. 26-year-old Tariff Odia faces multiple drug trafficking charges and one of possession of property obtained by crime. A senior Toronto police officer demoted for trying to intervene in her nephew's collision investigation is appealing the ruling. Inspector Joyce Schertzer was temporarily demoted to the lower rank of staff sergeant for a period of 9 months. She'd been found guilty of 2 counts of professional misconduct for her involvement in the collision in May 2022. Schertzer is appealing both the demotion and the original guilty conclusion. The notice of appeal lists dozens of grounds, including claims the officer who adjudicated the case speculated and exaggerated the circumstances. Mayor Olivia Chow was joined by representatives of City Council and the federal government this morning for a housing announcement.
The city has reached a deal to secure the future of another facility once owned by Artscape, which provided homes and studio spaces to Toronto's artist community. The mayor pointing to the long list of stars who hail from this city.
And before these artists were global sensations, many of them were struggling to get by. Today, life has never been more expensive, especially for artists. Rising costs, shutter venues, lost funding during the pandemic, it threatens the vibrant art scene.
The mayor stopped by the Propeller Art Gallery to announce it's being acquired by the city. That same building includes 20 affordable housing units for a total of 390 former Artscape homes, now secured as affordable housing. The nonprofit started receivership proceedings back in 2023.
The city's legal and real estate teams worked diligently, furiously throughout this process to ensure that artists and cultural spaces remained accessible and protected from displacement. And that's how we keep our community vibrant and wonderful. Responding to the receivership has been an all-of-city project, with city staff, members of council, members of the arts community, tenants, and many others coming together to make sure that these assets to the arts and community are protected.
The mayor also pointed to other investments in housing and the arts in her 2025 budget proposal.
While pledging ongoing or increased support for city services, the mayor's budget relies on a 5.4% property tax increase and a 1.5% jump in the city's building fund levy. The city mailed out its 2025 interim property tax bills, which do not include that increase. It won't be reflected unless okayed by council at next week's special meeting to discuss the budget. Those U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods won't go into effect until at least the first week of March, if at all, but Canadian officials aren't taking any chances.
As CTV's Mike Lecoutel tells us, they are operating as if the levies are going to happen.
As the clock continues to tick down on the new tariff deadline, politicians at all levels are attempting to insulate their economies in case U.S. President Donald Trump follows through on his threat. Behind the handshakes and camaraderie is concern over punishing tariffs. The Prime Minister huddled with the mayors of Canada's largest cities to make a plan for a possible trade war with the U.S. And Justin Trudeau wants them to leverage relationships across the border.
You are the ones who decide whether your lucrative procurement contract goes to a firm in Moose Jaw or Montana. You are the ones who put local diplomacy in action.
The mayors are already doing that type of work.
We can arm the Team Canada approach with real on-the-ground examples of how tariffs will hurt our local economy.
Even the threat of tariffs already is. Montreal-based Sheartex is laying off 40% of its staff because the tights manufacturer says additional costs could be too much to bear.
This could have massive tens of millions of dollar impact on our financial forecasts.
Mr. Greer, I will welcome you.
The tariff impact on American businesses was highlighted during the confirmation hearings for Donald Trump's new trade representative. However, Jamieson Greer brought it back to the border.
The action that the president is talking about is about fentanyl, where we don't want another single fentanyl death.
Keen to show work is being done, Mounties went public with 3 recent incidents where they intercepted migrants at the Canada-U.S. border. In an interview on CTV's Power Play, the RCMP commissioner said 35% more personnel have been moved to the border from other areas.
We have to be flexible as an organization, and this is not different for any law enforcement, to be able to redeploy resources to a priority with minimal impact on what we're doing.
The commissioner says it's a delicate balance, but he insists the shift in resources will not impact public safety in other areas. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Despite international condemnation, U.S. President Donald Trump offered more details about his proposal to take over the Gaza Strip and redevelop the Palestinian territory. On his Truth Social web platform, Trump said the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of the fighting. He went on to suggest the Palestinians would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities in the region. And the U.S. would work with teams from around the world to begin construction on what he called one of the most spectacular developments of its kind. The U.S. president says no American soldiers would be needed and there would be stability in the region. In Gaza, there was a protest against Trump's plan. Displacement of Palestinians has been one of the most sensitive issues in the Middle East for decades. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt have rejected the U.S. president's proposal. A number of other countries, like Canada, are restating their support for a two-state solution. Israel's defense minister has ordered the army to prepare a plan that would allow Gaza residents to leave. Israel says any departures would have to be voluntary, and states would have to be willing to take those who've decided to leave.
A funeral will be held Saturday for the former spiritual leader of the global Ismaili Muslim community. The service for Prince Karim Al Husseini Aga Khan IV will be in Lisbon. It will be attended by leaders of the Ismaili community, Portuguese government officials, and foreign dignitaries. Prince Karim passed away Tuesday at the age of 88. He will be placed to rest on Sunday in Aswan, Egypt. The prince was known for his development work around the world. His son, Prince Rahim Al Husseini, has been named the 50th hereditary imam or spiritual leader. He will grant an audience to senior leaders of the Ismaili community who will take their pledge of allegiance to him on behalf of the global Jamaat. Coming up on CTV News, a major union gets on the Buy Canadian bandwagon, urging big grocers to make Canadian products a priority.
I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many people will be getting together to watch the Super Bowl this weekend. But when is the last time you gave your TV a tune-up? We have some expert advice which can help you tackle your TV settings like a pro. All of that story, that's just ahead.
We saw a cooler day yesterday and above seasonal day today, and then we get back to where we should be tomorrow. So this roller coaster in our temperatures continues. We should be around -2, and we will be nowhere near that in the coming days. So just be prepared. And we're looking at another dose of snow coming up before the week is all said and done. Your full forecast in a moment, and stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
More than 10 million Canadians tuned in to watch the Super Bowl last year, and it's expected many will also check out the big game this weekend.
Along with stocking up on things like chicken wings and nachos, you may also want to give your TV a tune-up before kickoff. Pat Foran has some expert advice on Consumer Alert.
Even if your TV set looks really good, there's a chance you can make it look even better. If you want to try and get a more vibrant picture, there are a few easy steps you can take to tackle your settings and get a touchdown quality picture. Whether you watch the big game for the football, the halftime show, or the commercials.
What are you doing in there?
We're doing a Dunkin' Donuts commercial, right?
Right.
I'm just trying to find the character.
Making a few tweaks to your TV's picture settings in time for the Super Bowl can be a real game changer.
Having the right settings that can make the difference between like making it seem like you're watching a cartoon versus like watching real life.
If you want to improve your view for the biggest game of the year, the first move may surprise you. Trading your TV's preset sports mode for one that can actually help you score better picture quality.
We typically recommend filmmaker mode. It'll get you closest to the settings that we use. If your TV doesn't have filmmaker mode, you can try movie mode, custom mode, natural, or one of the expert modes.
With just a few more moves, you can take your TV's picture to the next level. Find a dark scene and pause it to adjust the brightness or black level.
The way this TV is set up currently, it's too dark so you can't see some of the details in the background, but as I raise the black level, you'll see details like this cloth and this cloth overhead kind of emerging from the darkness. If I raise it all the way, it gets hazy, which means I've set it too bright. So what you want to do is lower it to the point that the TV is as dark as it can be without losing any of these details in the background.
You need a bright scene to set the contrast or white level.
Where this TV is set up now, the contrast is actually set too high so you can't see any detail. As I lower it, you'll start to see like the clouds and the ice ridges on the mountain appearing. But if I keep going, the image gets too dark. So you want to raise the contrast until the image is bright, but you're not losing any of the detail in the background.
Then choose a warm or low color temperature so the yard lines look white and not blue, and adjust the tint to the middle of the range so the player's flesh tones look natural. And don't sweat a fumble. Most TVs have a reset option to get you back to the factory settings, so if you're unhappy with the changes you've made, you can hit reset and start over again. And if you've never adjusted your TV's picture, it's worth giving it a try. All these steps can be hard to remember, so we'll have them online if you want to tweak your set before Sunday's game. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, well, my TV set is ready for the big game, but the focus for me is the food. I love chips, wings. How about yourself?
You know, I don't know if I like the food, the game, or the halftime show more. I think the food wins. Yeah, wings for sure. I just get stressed because if you're ordering wings, it's such a popular night. You're like, we better get them.
I like to say I'm an expressive eater, not a messy eater. So when I'm eating wings, it's just like if there's less sauce, it's better for me. But anyway, the food is also great. But it's probably a good day to stay inside to watch the Super Bowl on Sunday. The weather won't be the worst, but it's probably a good idea to maybe stay indoors. Now, we saw that messy weather early on this morning. We have a break right now, but we're not done entirely with the active weather before this day is all said and done. Now, temperature-wise, it's been a significantly different day, a little warmer out there, but it's windy now. But a beautiful shot of our city aglow as we head into this early part of our evening. And right now, we're sitting right at the freezing mark, the sweet spot. Now, as we head in towards the rest of our evening, we will hold on above seasonal at the base temperature, but the wind chill is going to become a factor as we see our more southwesterly wind become northwesterly and add a bit of a chill to the air and the chance of lake effect snow. Right now we're sitting again at the freezing mark. It feels like -7, the same through Windsor and Wyerton, but as you go further north and east, it is significantly cooler. Into this evening, that -4 feeling like -12, so those gusty winds are going to do what they're supposed to do and cool things down pretty significantly, and that's the same for everybody. We get a burst of flurries as we head through the overnight and then a break just in time for the commute tomorrow. As we head in towards our day, we're very seasonal at -3, a decent amount of sunshine right throughout the day and a return to seasonal or just slightly below temperatures right across southern Ontario. The bulk of that active weather we had has pushed its way east and we're done with it for now. But as we head in through the overnight, another cold front comes through. That's where that lake effect snow pops up. And then into the day tomorrow, a small break, a little bit of a reprieve from all the messy stuff we had to start the day today. We get through our Thursday evening. There's that burst of snow as we approach midnight. It's gone just in time for the drive as you get in towards your Friday, taking yourself to work or dropping off kids to school. A much easier commute for a lot of people. Still some lake effect snow as we head through that midpoint of our day, but it kind of goes from Owen Sound across to Peterborough, so it maybe hits the north end of the city if it does at all, but pretty brief. Heading into our Friday night, it's not too bad. And then we step into Saturday. This is the second round of active weather we're expecting this week. It comes into the later part of the day, so late afternoon, early evening, and we're looking at widespread flurries with the potential of 5 to 10 centimeters, depending on where you are. So take your time if you have to go anywhere on Saturday night. It trickles into Sunday morning, and then we get a break just in time for a lot of those Super Bowl parties, I'm sure. Or if you're just staying home, it doesn't matter. As we head into the day tomorrow, very seasonal. Your Saturday is not too bad temperature-wise. We're seasonal for the daytime high, and we're holding on above for that overnight low. We get in towards Sunday, almost an identical forecast as far as in that seasonal range. We get into Monday, and it's not so bad, but another cool down is on the way. And as we look ahead to Thursday of next week, we're watching for the potential of another larger snow event. We'll keep a close eye on it because we're still quite a few days out. But your next big one that's closest to us is Saturday evening, and then we get a break heading into Sunday. Michelle, I'll send things back to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Also tonight, groundbreaking medication to treat people living with mental illness. The game-changing new drug and its impact on quality of life. A new medication is offering hope for the 150,000 Canadians living with schizophrenia.
And as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, it's one more tool to manage a much misunderstood condition.
I have my own mental health issues that I deal with every day since I was about 12.
For Chelsea Meldrum, that included self-harm, hallucinations, and even suicidal thoughts. And finding the right medication was hard.
It was very bad. It was making me like a zombie almost, like drowsy everywhere. I couldn't stay awake. And then the other ones that I was on made me gain a lot of weight. So I felt like self-conscious.
Schizophrenia is a mental illness that impacts how people think and feel, and it is characterized by symptoms that can be thoughts, feelings, delusions.
Chelsea eventually found a medication that worked for her, but access to new treatments remains a challenge for many people dealing with mental health issues. And with 90% of those with serious psychiatric conditions unable to work, government funding is especially important. That's why new Ontario coverage for Vraylar, an antipsychotic, is vital.
Having a treatment that works effectively for you means that the individual is able not only to go back to work, but also to be, a parent, a wife, a sister, a member of society.
I have voices that I hear like constantly, and these shadow figures I see like visually. So when I go to bed at night, I play music and put headphones on to drown out the voices. And I do like painting in my spare room just to like focus on something different.
Chelsea uses art and her dogs, in addition to her medications, as part of her arsenal to take care of her mental health. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
One of the nominees for Best Actress at the Oscars is sitting out a major awards ceremony overseas amid fallout over her past social media posts. Carla Sofia Gascon is the first trans performer to be nominated for Best Actress at the Academy Awards. She was nominated for her work in the Netflix film Emilia Perez. Her Oscar campaign was derailed after past tweets surfaced appearing to express racist and homophobic sentiments. She has apologized while making comments suggesting she was a victim of so-called cancel culture. Deadline reports Gascon won't attend the Critics' Choice Awards tomorrow or Spain's Goya Film Awards Saturday.
Rihanna is taking part in a new project, lending her voice to an animated character from a familiar franchise.
Hang on! That was absolutely terrifying.
I think I swallowed my gum.
And that's Rihanna in the role of Smurfette. She's joined by an all-star cast in the upcoming Smurfs movie, including John Goodman, Nick Offerman, James Offerman, and many others. The movie follows the beloved Blue characters on an important mission into the real world. It's out July 18th.
Elton John is preparing for the release of a new album in collaboration with singer-songwriter Brandi Carlile.
Once we got going, Jesus.
The glass was shaking.
It happened so quickly. Finally, it all started to flow.
John and Carlile teamed up over 20 days in 2023 to write and record their new album titled Who Believes in Angels. They also filmed the process for an accompanying short film. The title track is already out ahead of the album's release on April 4th. The singers will also perform a one-night-only show called An Evening with Elton John and Brandi Carlile next month in London.
After the break, soaring to new heights at Pearson to keep passengers safe. A CTV News exclusive airport ride-along coming up.
Inside the house, her husband inside the house. Where is he? Is he in the room? Upstairs, downstairs?
Updating our top stories, one man is dead after an afternoon fire in Markham. Firefighters were called to the home near Woodbine and Major Mac at around 1 this afternoon. There, they found a woman outside telling them a man was trapped inside. Neighbors say the man was in his 70s. Fire investigators are working to figure out the cause of the blaze.
A 15-year-old boy has been charged with second-degree murder after a woman was found with critical injuries at a home in Vaughan. Police say they were called to the home on Rutherford Road and Jane Street in that area around 9:20 this morning. Investigators say the 15-year-old suspect was arrested at the home, and they are not looking for any other suspects.
And a woman was rushed to hospital with serious injuries after being hit by a dump truck this afternoon. It happened just before 2 near Pape and Mortimer. The woman was taken to a trauma center. Paramedics say her injuries are considered life-threatening. Roads in the area were closed for some time for the investigation, but have since reopened.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos or video of breaking news, let us know.
Canadian stocks slipped today, dragged down by declines in some high-profile names. Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the latest in business.
Hello there. Toronto's composite stock index was dragged slightly lower today as investors sold Celestica, Lightspeed, Rogers Communications and BCE. Shares in Celestica, the high-flying maker of electronic assemblies, lost 7%. Bloomberg reported that company insiders sold more than $100 million US worth of shares, with CEO Robert Mionis disposing of stock worth $54 million. Retail technology player Lightspeed plunged 13% after the company stopped looking into a possible sale of the business. Rogers Communications, whose debt load has attracted attention, fell almost 8%, hitting the lowest since 2012. And BCE, parent of CTV and BNN Bloomberg, lost 6% after the telecom provider warned that underlying profit may slip this year. The Canadian dollar edged higher. It changed hands at 69.88 US cents, up a fraction. West Texas Intermediate oil was at $70.61 US a barrel, down 42 cents. Our latest fix on Western Canadian Select oil, $56.56, down $1.72. And the TSX Composite ended at 25,534.49, down just over 35 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Bombardier opted not to give investors a financial forecast for the year today. The aerospace company said it took that step because of the uncertainty posed by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threats. Chief Executive Eric Martel said he was very disappointed the business jet maker couldn't provide targets. He said the company would need to exercise caution until matters play out further, warning of unintended consequences of tariffs and counter tariffs.
And Canada Goose cut back its profit forecast for the year while reporting a miss on its quarterly revenue estimates. The Toronto-based company slid on weak consumer spending in China. A youth unemployment and a property crisis there have prompted tougher times for the luxury goods industry. Canada Goose now expects flat to low single-digit percentage growth this year, less than earlier forecasts.
The country's largest private sector union is urging grocery stores to make it easier to buy Canadian. Many shoppers have been taking a closer look at where their purchases come from as the threat of trade tariffs looms over our country. But Unifor says it's not always easy to tell which brands are produced domestically. The union's national president wrote to the CEOs of Loblaw, Metro and Empire, urging the companies to prioritize Canadian goods and clearly identify and prominently present them to support domestic industries.
It's about obviously boosting Canadian companies and Canadian workers, but two, it's to get us in this thought process that we can do more here ourselves in Canada to support the Canadian economy.
Some supermarkets have already put up signs pointing out Made in Canada products. Unifor's letter also urged grocery retailers to ensure their private label brands are produced in Canada and to source alternative suppliers to U.S. goods where possible.
With Valentine's Day just around the corner, a new poll suggests the increasing cost of living is impacting Canadians' love lives. The BMO survey spoke with 2,500 Canadians 18 plus between late December and late January. 42% of single respondents admitted to adjusting date plans for financial reasons. Nearly one-third said they'd canceled a date to save money. The survey pegged the cost of an average date at $173. 38% said the costs associated with dating have even affected their ability to reach financial goals. The survey had a credibility interval of plus or minus 2.19%, 19 times out of 20.
For the first time in its history, arts and crafts company Crayola is bringing back some of its retired colors. Crayola will start selling a crayon box featuring 8 nostalgic colors, including dandelion, orange, red, and violet blue. The colors will also be available in other products, such as markers. Crayola says the decision to bring back these colors followed an outpouring of requests.
The NBA trade deadline's come and gone, with the Toronto Raptors making a couple of moves. Toronto acquired Brandon Ingram from the Pelicans made that last night. The small forward is averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists this season. In return, New Orleans gets Canadian Kelly Olynyk, Bruce Brown, a 2026 first-round pick, and a second-round pick. Meanwhile, sources tell ESPN that P.J. Tucker has been traded back to the Raptors, along with a second-round pick and cash. The Miami Heat get Davion Mitchell. Toronto plays OKC tomorrow.
It will be a late night for Leaf fans as the Buds continue their Western road trip.
Matthews, back for 9. Nylander shoots, scores!
Toronto beat Calgary 6-3 on Tuesday, their second straight win in Alberta to begin the trip. Tonight, the Leafs are in Seattle, playing a Kraken team that has lost their last 2. Puck drop is shortly after 10 o'clock.
The one-year countdown to the 2026 Olympics is on. There was a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Italy today to mark the occasion. The Games will be co-hosted by Milan and the Alpine town of Cortina from February 6th to the 22nd. It will be the first time the Winter Olympics have been held in Western Europe since Italy staged them in Turin in 2006. The Games will be a logistical challenge with the 2 locations more than 400 kilometers apart.
Just ahead, trapped in a 30-foot deep ice-cold sewage tank, the Toronto Wildlife Centre rescues a nearly 200-pound buck and reunites it with its herd. The harrowing ordeal just ahead. On a day like today, they are the people tasked with keeping the runways safe and the snow free for planes to take off and land at Pearson Airport.
CTV's Mike Walker got a behind-the-scenes look at how ground operation crews kept Canada's busiest airport running today.
On a day like this, it's all hands on deck for the airfield maintenance crew at Pearson Airport.
As soon as it's kind of hitting on the radar, we're out there trying to get ahead of it.
Morning, ground inspection 94. We're riding along with Airfield Technical Inspector Paul Atwell.
Runway 33 left.
As he inspects the runways in between flights.
We're looking for any FOD on a runway and then looking for any winter contaminants to report. We do this every 4 hours or as required in the winter. No stopping on the runway.
He's in constant communication with the Air Traffic Control Tower and the Maintenance Control Center that deploys crews when a problem is identified. With flights taking off and landing every minute at the country's busiest airport, it's a critical job.
If you think of that from the pilot's point of view, they're waiting to get that inspection before they're setting up to land, so they know what are the conditions they're expecting to land on, and all the people in the aircraft, it's their safety really that we're talking about here.
The weather today presenting a mixed bag of conditions and challenges. About 2 centimeters of snow fell this morning. These massive plows were out immediately, working in tandem, responsible for clearing about 5 million square meters. That's the equivalent of 3,300 NHL rinks.
We're about 15 minutes of runway, which is about an hour and a half for an entire loop of the field.
But late this morning, conditions changed to freezing drizzle.
So these are more hard to manage in a way because you're not sure what you're going to get out of it.
With these conditions, there are delays. Every aircraft must pass through the de-icing facility before takeoff. Today, each de-icing pad is operational.
Depends on how much ice or buildup of snow, but it's anywhere from 6 to 15 minutes.
Over the past 2 years, Pearson has expanded its fleet that now totals 161 pieces of snow clearing equipment.
Some of that is to combat what, that sort of shift we're having in the climate. We're getting a lot wetter, heavier snow, which is different to deal with than dry, fluffy snow. The quicker we can get what we need to do done, the less delays you have, the quicker aircraft get out.
The biggest test of the season yet will be on Saturday with as much as 10 centimeters of snow in the forecast.
We're already organizing crews, making sure we have enough chemical on site, starting to plan if there's any issues with, we have too many aircraft going out that time and we have to space them out a little bit.
An around-the-clock job preparing for all scenarios to keep air traffic moving. Mike Walker, CTV News.
The Toronto Wildlife Centre stepped in to help last week when a deer got stuck in a water treatment plant in Pickering.
The organization says the story could have had a very different ending, but it was able to carry out a successful rescue.
There's actually pools of water that are 30 feet deep, but then the way the system works, there's an overflow. And then the buck fortunately was able to find this overflow spot that actually was a shallow area, so it wasn't going to drown, but this is still a pretty intense situation.
Oh, it doesn't look happy there. With the assistance of facility staff, veterinarians with the Wildlife Center stepped in. They tranquilized the nearly 200-pound buck and transported him to safety. Then they assessed him to make sure he wasn't suffering from hypothermia and treated his wounds.
Once all that was done, we were comfortable with how dry, clean, and warm he was. We were able to reverse him. After what he's gone through, I'm sure that's a little bit of a rest that he needed to kind of gather his strength back up.
The Wildlife Center says they then transported the deer to the wild and monitored from a distance as he woke up and reunited with his herd. It's quite the ordeal, yeah.
I know. Let's hope he's chilling tonight, although there is a little bit of blowing snow.
There is. We have another kind of cold front sweeping through as we get kind of towards midnight. So if you're out to maybe you work shift work, keep that in mind. It is going to be a bit challenging from midnight through to the early morning hours tomorrow. But we get a break into the majority of our Friday. Now, temperature-wise right now, still quite mild, 0, feeling like -7 because it is quite gusty out there. But the commute tomorrow, a significantly different story. Very sunny, but also very cold and very windy. The next big snow event that we have is going to be on Saturday. We're looking at that potential of 5 to 10 centimeters, depending on where you are. So just plan ahead, drive safe, and if you don't have to go anywhere, stay in, relax, and prepare for maybe your Super Bowl Sunday party.
Ooh, I think we'll take your advice. Thank you, Jess. That's it for us, but you can catch Omar Sachedina at 11 tonight for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Almond with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.